Hi, welcome to EPG Pathshala Spanish. We are in the paper entitled Advanced Spanish Grammar. I am Gaurav Kumar and I teach Spanish in the Center of Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and Latin American Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. The title of this module is the Spanish Subjunctive. The objective of this module is to learn the usages of the verbs in the Spanish present subjunctive form. Learners of Spanish language usually consider the subjunctive as the most difficult Spanish verb form, but hopefully this lesson will help you understand it in a simplified manner. Firstly, we will learn about the differences between tense and mood of verbs. Later, we will learn how to form the present subjunctive conjugations of regular and irregular verbs. Let us try to understand the terms tense and mood of verbs. The tense tells you the time of the action. The tenses are, for example, present, preterite, future, etc. The mood tells the speaker's attitude towards the action. In Spanish, we have indicative, imperative, and the subjunctive as moods. Learners of Spanish language usually consider the subjunctive as the most difficult Spanish verb form, but hopefully, this lesson will help you understand it in a simplified manner. Firstly, we will learn about the differences between tense and mood of verbs. Later, we will learn how to form the present subjunctive conjugations of regular and irregular verbs. Let us try to understand the terms tense and mood of verbs. The tense tells you the time of the action. The tenses are present, preterite, future, etc. The mood tells the speaker's attitude towards the action. In Spanish, we have indicative, imperative, and the subjunctive as mood. In earlier units, you have been using verb tenses like present, preterite, imperfect, and future in the indicative mood. The indicative is used to express real, definite, or factual actions or states of being. For example, Ana es mi novia. I repeat, Ana es mi novia. In English, Ana is my girlfriend. Another example, ayer fuimos al mercado. I repeat, ayer fuimos al mercado. In English, yesterday we went to the market. You have also seen the functioning of the commands in Spanish. A command tells someone to do something. For example, por favor, siéntense ustedes. I repeat, por favor, siéntense ustedes. Please sit down. Another example, Pedro, lávate las manos. I repeat, Pedro, lávate las manos. In English, Pedro, wash your hands. The subjunctive is used to express the hypothetical or subjective, such as a speaker's attitude, wishes, feelings, emotions, or doubts. Unlike the indicative, which states facts, the subjunctive describes reality subjectively or refers to actions or states that are not yet reality at all. The subjunctive mood wishes, suggests, and fantasizes about things. For example, I suggest that Carlos drives the car. In Spanish, it is Yo sugiero que Carlos conduzca el coche. I repeat, Yo sugiero que Carlos conduzca el coche. Another example, he wants his son to be a doctor. In Spanish, it is Él quiere que su hijo sea médico. I repeat, Él quiere que su hijo sea médico. The subjunctive is rarely used in English and it may sound strange at times. Some examples in the English forms of the indicative and subjunctive are You are late. I am sick. John studies. These three sentences were in the indicative. Now let us take some subjunctive examples in English. It is important that you be on time. Another example, I wish I were not sick. The teacher insists that he study. In Spanish, the subjunctive is used a lot and you need to use it to prove that you are not unaware of the Spanish subjunctive forms. Some examples like Espero que India gane el partido. I repeat, espero que India gane el partido. I hope that India wins the match. Another example, es importante que sepas la verdad. I repeat, es importante que sepas la verdad. In English, it is important that you know the truth. Let's take one more example. Dudo que vayas a aprobar el examen. I repeat, dudo que vayas a aprobar el examen. I doubt that you will pass the exam. Before we learn usages of the subjunctive, we must learn the verb conjugations that we will be working with. The subjunctive conjugations for regular verbs can be derived in a simple manner. Step 1. We start with the yo form of the given verb in the present tense indicator. This applies to all three conjugations of AR, ER and IR ending. Subjunctive for AR ending verbs. Let's take the example of the verb hablar, to speak. So, in step 1, we take the yo form of the verb hablar, that is hablo. In step 2, we take off the final O of the yo form, and in step 3, for AR verbs, we add ER verb endings to the stem hable, and thus the subjunctive conjugations will be like yo hable, tú hables, él, ella, usted hable, nosotros hablemos, vosotros habléis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablen. I repeat the subjunctive conjugation as yo hable, tú hables, él, ella, usted hable, nosotros hablemos, vosotros habléis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablen. Notice that the first and third person singular forms are identical. Therefore, with these forms, one has to mention the subject pronoun yo, él, ella, or usted. Also, otherwise, it can be omitted if the context is known. Some examples of subjunctive conjugation in the AR ending verbs are visitar. The verb in English means to visit. The present indicative of visitar in the yo form is visito. So we remove the final O and add the E endings, and thus the subjunctive conjugations will be yo visite, tú visites, él, ella, usted visite, nosotros visitemos, vosotros visitéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes visiten. I repeat the conjugations once again. For the verb visitar, it is yo visite, tú visites, él, ella, usted visite, nosotros visitemos, vosotros visitéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes visiten. Another example we can do is of the verb tomar, which means to take or to drink. We follow the same process and start with the first form in the indicative of the verb, which is tomo. We remove the final O and add the ER endings to the stem. Thus, the conjugations are yo tome, tú tomes, él, ella, usted tome, nosotros tomemos, vosotros toméis, ellos, ellas, ustedes tomen. I repeat the conjugations. Yo tome, tú tomes, él, ella, usted tome, nosotros tomemos, vosotros toméis, ellos, ellas, ustedes tomen. Borrar is another verb of AR ending pattern, and it means to erase. We follow the same pattern of conjugations, and the first part is borro for the yo form in the indicative. We remove the final o and add the er endings to the stem, and thus the subjunctive for the verb borrar is like this: yo borre, tú borres, él, ella, usted borre, nosotros borremos, vosotros borréis, ellos, ellas, ustedes borren. I repeat the conjugations of the verb borrar: yo borre, tú borres, él, ella, usted borre, nosotros borremos, vosotros borréis, ellos, ellas, ustedes borren. Let's come to the next set of verbs, that is the er ending verbs. We have to follow the similar pattern in this case also. We start with the first form, that is yo form of the verb in the indicative. Let's take the verb comer, which means to eat, as an example to see the conjugations in the subjunctive. The first form of comer in the present indicative is como. In the step 2, we take off the final o of the yo form, and we have to add now the ar ending verb patterns to the stem com. So the conjugations for the verb comer in the present subjunctive are like this: yo coma, tú comas, él, ella, usted coma, nosotros comamos, vosotros comáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes coman. I repeat the conjugation: yo coma, tú comas, él, ella, usted coma, nosotros comamos, vosotros comáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes coman. Note that the first person singular and the third person singular conjugations are same. Similar to the first earlier case, we can understand the context and avoid the usage of the subject pronoun, or we can either mention the subject pronoun as yo, él, ella, or usted. Let us take some more examples of the er ending regular verbs. Beber, er ending verb, regular in pattern, means to drink. We take the first part of beber, the yo form in the indicative is bebo, and remove the final o and add the ar endings to the stem, and thus the conjugations that we receive are yo beba, tú bebas, él, ella, usted beba, nosotros bebamos, vosotros bebáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes beban. I repeat the conjugation: yo beba, tú bebas, él, ella, usted beba, nosotros bebamos, vosotros bebáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes beban. Let's take up the IR ending verbs in the present subjunctive conjugation format. We will follow the same steps of removing the final O of the indicative form. Let's take the example of vivir in this case. The first form of the verb vivir in the indicative yo form is vivo. In step 2, we take off the final O of the yo form. And finally, we add the AR verb endings to the stem viv. Thus, we get the final version of the verb viv in the subjunctive as yo viva, tú vivas, él, ella, usted viva, nosotros vivamos, vosotros viváis, ellos, ellas, ustedes vivan. I repeat the conjugation for you. Yo viva, tú vivas, él, ella, usted viva, nosotros vivamos, vosotros viváis, ellos, ellas, ustedes vivan. Notice again that the first and the third person singular forms are identical. The speakers will understand the context and can avoid mentioning the subject pronoun, or else they will have to mention either yo, él, ella, or usted. Let us take up some more examples of the verb endings in IR. For example, the verb escribir, which means to write. Yo escriba, tú escribas, él, ella, usted escriba, nosotros escribamos, vosotros escribáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes escriban. I repeat the conjugations for you. Yo escriba, tú escribas, él, ella, usted escriba, nosotros escribamos, vosotros escribáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes escriban. Let us now take up the irregular forms of the subjunctive. If we are careful to begin with the first step, then verbs with irregular stems in the yo forms will be included as regular verb conjugations and will not be considered irregular in the subjunctive. Verbs like conocer, conozco, decir, digo, dormir, duermo, hacer, hago, oír, oigo, pedir, pido, perder, pierdo, querer, quiero, tener, tengo, traer, traigo, venir, vengo, ver, veo. These are some of the irregular verbs that we have already seen in the indicative as well, and their corresponding first yo forms have been mentioned. This is very important for us to know the corresponding subjunctive conjugations. Stem changing AR and ER verbs have the same stem changes as in the present indicative. Let us take up the example of the verb recordar, where the verb has the O changing into UE. So, the corresponding subjunctive form of the verb recordar is like this. Yo recuerde, tú recuerdes, él, ella, usted recuerde, nosotros recordemos, vosotros recordéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes recuerden. I repeat the conjugation for you. Yo recuerde, tú recuerdes, él, ella, usted recuerde, nosotros recordemos, vosotros recordéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes recuerden. Let us see the change of the stem of the verb in from E to IE. Let us take the example of the verb perder. The yo form is pierdo in the indicative, and we have to see the subjunctive of the same. Step changing AR and ER verbs have the same stem changes as in the present indicative. Let us take for example the verb recordar, which means to remember, and it undergoes the change of the vowel O into UE. Let's see the present subjunctive conjugation of the verb recordar. Yo recuerde, tú recuerdes, él, ella, usted recuerde, nosotros recordemos, vosotros recordéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes recuerden. I repeat the conjugation for you. It is yo recuerde, tú recuerdes, él, ella, usted recuerde, nosotros recordemos, vosotros recordéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes recuerden. Let us take now the example of the stem change in the case of the vowel E changing into IE. Let us do that with the verb perder, which means to lose. The subjunctive for the verb perder is like this: yo pierda, tú pierdas, él, ella, usted pierda, nosotros perdamos, vosotros perdáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes pierdan. I repeat, it is yo pierda, tú pierdas, él, ella, usted pierda, nosotros perdamos, vosotros perdáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes pierdan. Remember, however, that the stem changes do not apply to nosotros and vosotros forms. You may recall the third person singular and plural changes that occur in the preterite or the past definite form of the stem changing verbs in the case of the final endings of IR verbs. For example, the verb dormir in the preterite is conjugated as dormí, dormiste, durmió, dormimos, dormisteis, durmieron. As you can see that the third person singular él, ella, usted and the third person plural forms of ellos, ellas, ustedes has a change of the vowel from O into U, and it becomes durmió and durmieron respectively. The same changes occur in the nosotros and vosotros forms of the subjunctive as well, and hence we have the conjugation for the verb dormir as the following: yo duerma, tú duermas, él, ella, usted duerma, nosotros durmamos, vosotros durmáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes duerman. I repeat, it is yo duerma, tú duermas, él, ella, usted duerma, nosotros durmamos, vosotros durmáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes duerman. These changes occur only in the case of the stem changing IR ending verbs and not in the AR and ER ending verbs. You may recall the third person singular and plural changes that occur in the preterite of stem changing verb mentir, and let us remember the conjugations in the past of the verb mentir. It is yo mentí, tú mentiste, él, ella, usted mintió, nosotros mentimos, vosotros mentisteis, Ellos, ellas, ustedes mintieron. So you can see it is again the third person singular and the third person plural where the vowel E changes into I and the conjugations are mintió and mintieron. The same conjugation change will undergo in the present subjunctive for the nosotros and vosotros form as well. Thus, the conjugation of the verb mentir in the present subjunctive is like yo mienta, tú mientas, él, ella, usted mienta, nosotros mentamos, vosotros mentáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes mientan. I repeat, yo mienta, tú mientas, él, ella, usted mienta, nosotros mentamos, vosotros mentáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes mientan. Let us take the example of the verb servir. In the preterite form, the conjugations are yo serví, tú serviste, él, ella, usted sirvió, nosotros servimos, vosotros servisteis, ellos, ellas, ustedes sirvieron. As you can see, again in the third person singular and the third person plural, the verbs undergoes the change of the vowel E into I. It is sirvió and sirvieron respectively. The same changes will happen in the nosotros and vosotros forms of the present subjunctive as well. So the conjugations of the verb servir in the present subjunctive is like yo sirva, tú sirvas, él, ella, usted sirva, nosotros sirvamos, vosotros sirváis, ellos, ellas, ustedes sirvan. I repeat, it is yo sirva, tú sirvas, él, ella, usted sirva, nosotros sirvamos, vosotros sirváis, ellos, ellas, ustedes sirvan. The following spelling changes occur in all forms of the present subjunctive with verbs whose infinitives end in car, gar, and sar. For the endings of car, the C changes into QU, as in the example of the verb buscar, which means to search. The conjugations of the verb in the present subjunctive are like yo busque, tú busques, él, ella, usted busque, nosotros busquemos, vosotros busquéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes busquen. I repeat, it is yo busque, tú busques, él, ella, usted busque, nosotros busquemos, vosotros busquéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes busquen. Let us take the example of the verbs ending in gar. For the case of llegar, we have the subjunctive conjugations where the G changes into GU. Let us now see the conjugations in the present subjunctive. The next verb endings are that of the verb which end in gar. The G changes into GU. Let us take the example of the verb llegar. The conjugations of the verb llegar in the present subjunctive are like this: yo llegue, tú llegues, él, ella, usted llegue, nosotros lleguemos, vosotros lleguéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes lleguen. I repeat, yo llegue, tú llegues, él, ella, usted llegue, nosotros lleguemos, vosotros lleguéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes lleguen. Now we'll see the verbs that end in thar, where the Z changes into C. We take the example of the verb empezar. The conjugations are yo empiece, tú empieces, él, ella, usted empiece, nosotros empecemos, vosotros empecéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes empiecen. I repeat, it is yo empiece, tú empieces, él, ella, usted empiece, nosotros empecemos, vosotros empecéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes empiecen. There are only 6 truly irregular forms of verbs that are considered completely subjunctive and irregular in their behavior. Those are dar, ir, ser, haber, estar, saber. When listed in the following order, the initial letters of each verb forms the acronym DISHES and is useful to memorize easily. Dar in the subjunctive is conjugated as yo, de, tú, des, él, ella, usted, de, nosotros, demos, vosotros, deis, ellos, ellas, ustedes, den. Next is ir, which means to go, and in the subjunctive, it is conjugated as yo, vaya, tú, vayas, él, ella, usted, vaya, nosotros, vayamos, vosotros, vayáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes, vayan. Ser, which means to be, in the subjunctive is conjugated as yo, sea, tú, seas, él, ella, usted, sea, nosotros seamos, vosotros seáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes sean. Hacer, which means to do, in the present subjunctive is conjugated as yo, haga, tú, hagas, él, ella, usted, haga, nosotros, hagamos, vosotros, hagáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes, hagan. Estar, which also means to be, like ser, is conjugated in the present subjunctive as yo esté, tú estés, él, ella, usted esté, nosotros estemos, vosotros estéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes estén. The next verb is saber, which means to know, and the conjugations are yo sepa, tú sepas, él, ella, usted sepa, nosotros sepamos, vosotros sepáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes sepan. Let us see some examples of irregular verbs to understand the conjugation patterns better. Almorzar, to have lunch, is conjugated as almuerce, almuerces, almuerce, almorcemos, almorcéis, almuercen. Next is conocer, to know or to be familiar with. The conjugations in present subjunctive are conozca, conozcas, conozca, conozcamos, conozcáis, conozcan. Decir, which means to say, is conjugated in present subjunctive like diga, digas, diga, digamos, digáis, began. The reflexive verb divertirse, which means to enjoy, is conjugated in the following manner: Yo me divierta, tú te diviertas, él, ella, usted se divierta, nosotros nos divirtamos, vosotros os divirtáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes se diviertan. The next verb is jugar, which means to play, and the subjunctive conjugations are juegue, juegues, juegue, juguemos, juguéis, jueguen. Levantarse is another reflexive verb which means to get up, and the conjugations are me levante, te levantes, se levante, nos levantemos, os levantéis, se levanten. The next verb is merecer, which means to deserve, and the conjugations are like this: merezca, merezcas, merezca, merezcamos, merezcáis, merezcan. The verb oír, which means to hear, has the following conjugation pattern: yo oiga, tú oigas, él, ella, usted oiga, nosotros oigamos, vosotros oigáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes oigan. The verb pensar means to think and is conjugated like piense, pienses, piense, pensemos, penséis, piensen. The verb poder, which means to be able to, is conjugated in the following manner: pueda, puedas, pueda, podamos, podáis, puedan. The verb poner is conjugated like this: ponga, pongas, ponga, pongamos, pongáis, pongan. The verb querer, which means to want, is conjugated in the present subjunctive in the following manner: quiera, quieras, quiera, queramos, queráis, quieran. Salir, which means to leave, is conjugated in the present subjunctive like this: salga, salgas, salga, salgamos, salgáis, salgan. Sentirse, another reflexive verb which means to feel, is conjugated as me sienta, te sientas, se sienta, nos sentamos, os sentáis, se sientan. The subjunctive is an important part of the Spanish grammar, and in this module we took the first step towards its understanding. We have discussed in detail the conjugation pattern of the verbs in order to express in the subjunctive. Thank you. Gracias.